This is a Hot Pie Original.
I'm going to try. It's hard. I don't want to make this a serious issue because it's just funny, and Jimmy Kimmel's comments were funny. But I can tell you that what's reported now, it's not that surprising. He's the kind of jackass that would go here. But I'm going to tell you, this is not the first and only time that somebody in office, not necessarily the president, but somebody in office, this actually has come in various forms. This should prove to you that politicians really aren't different, no matter what letters next to their name. The story is that Donald Trump asked the Department of Justice to investigate whether Saturday Night Live, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. He was sick of Saturday Night Live making fun of him. And he didn't like it. I'll bet he's not the first one that didn't like it. There wasn't an episode during the Clinton-Lewinsky days that didn't go by without, was it Daryl Hammond that did Bill Clinton? That didn't do a Clinton-Lewinsky bit. Of course, normal people would say, shut up, man. It's been going on for decades. That's what SNL is about. It's about parody. But he did then, when he got whiny about it, he did turn it around. And I'm telling you, he went to a place that I experienced not long ago. Trump then suggested, once it came out that he had the Department of Justice, he wanted them to investigate whether SNL was violating blah, blah, whatever. Okay, his response was far more serious and sinister, and it's not the first time this has happened. I heard the same thing in talk radio. And it was dumb then, and it's dumb now. So he posted a statement saying it was fake news. Then, of course, he said they're not funny, right? They have bad ratings, and they're not funny. It's fake news, the usual Trump thing. But then he did say, he pretty much admitted it. And he made a suggestion, and this is something that a lot of people actually believe in. He made the suggestion in his statements, since he's not on Twitter, which is too bad. It sucks that he's not on Twitter. He made the statement, but they should be investigated for illegal campaign contributions. In other words, he didn't know how to say it because he's just dumb. But what he was trying to say is something that's been trotted out many, many times by both sides of the aisle, by the way. And that is, you're one-sided and the government needs to investigate you for being so one-sided. The government should have a hand in you not being so one-sided. A few years ago, well, let me let Kimmel do the bit, then I'll get serious with you for a second to tell you how this is not the first time. Look, Trump is such a messed up human being. He can't articulate anything, but what he was dancing around is exactly what was getting talk radio in a rage a few years ago. Jimmy Kimmel says, the story comes out. I think we should believe it. It's not, I think it's probably fits Trump perfectly. He wants, hey, can't we do something about SNL and all these comedians making fun of me all the time?
Oh, speaking of Thanos, we got an interesting bit of tid this morning about the former president of the United States, the orange one. You remember him? So the Daily Beast says, it reports that in 2019, Donald Trump wanted the government to investigate, guess who, Guillermo? Me.
You? Why?
Yeah. Why? Look at this. According to two people familiar with the matter, Trump asked advisors and lawyers in early 2019 about what the Federal Communications Commission, the court systems, and most confusingly to some Trump lieutenants, the Department of Justice could do to probe or mitigate SNL, Jimmy Kimmel, and other late-night comedy mischief makers. I'm glad you're excited about it. I don't want him probing me. Can you imagine that? President Snowflake asked to send the authorities in to stop us from making fun of him. Not only that, he wanted Guillermo to pay for the wall.
No.
He did.
I'm not paying for nothing.
The report goes on to say, to those who heard it, Trump's inquiries into what federal regulations could be used to bust the likes of Kimmel and SNL was more of a nuisance than a constitutional crisis. To me, it feels more like a crisis than a nuisance. I don't know. Little did I know, I'm up here goofing on him. He's asking the feds to do who the hell knows what. And when he was told there was no legal case to be made that you can't stop comedians from making fun of you when you're president, Trump asked, can something else be done about it? Basically, Trump wanted to turn the Department of Justice into, remember on the old Batman show, the Penguin had those henchmen and the bowler hats and the tight black shirts? This is what Trump wanted, a goon squad, a bunch of tough guys to rough people up because he can't take a joke. He can make one. In fact, he's made several. Eric, Ivanka, Don Jr. You cannot take a joke. And by the way, they say this happened near the beginning of the year. That was right around the time he had a summit with Kim Jong-un. Maybe he got the idea from him. I could be dog food right now. I'd be like, Alec Baldwin's the one you want. He dressed up as you. So then just about 10 minutes ago, right before we taped the show, I'm walking downstairs, they released a statement, Trump did, that said, the story that I asked the Department of Justice to go after ratings challenge without Trump's Saturday Night Live and other late night losers is total fake news. It goes on to insult Alec Baldwin. With all that being said, however, I do believe that the 100% one-sided shows should be considered an illegal campaign contribution from the Democrat Party. What do you think, Guillermo? You think he said it or not?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course he did. Anyway, thanks for watching, Mr. Former President. I'll send you a hoodie if you like. You still a triple XL? That statement he released was, I don't even know how he releases statements anymore because he's banned from Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They kicked him off, but he still has a phone and a bunch of Fox News wannabes that don't screen his calls. Trump dialed into the Real America Voice News Network. Never heard of it either, and you're not going to believe this. Turns out he's still running for president.
Headline.
John McClellan is the co-founder and creator of ATX Hot Sauce, now in all 50 states and several retail outlets as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to let this social media rock star chef walk us through 4 different sauces, and then I'll taste, and we'll tell everyone why they should buy. You can give the science behind these, and then I'll make the simple recommendation. Go to atxhotsauce.com. All right,
I don't think anybody's heard the website.
Yeah, I know.
By you, Jeff, but it is atxhotsauce.com.
I'll say
I got that one right.
45 times, atxhotsauce.com. So let's do it.
I brought 4 flavors here, and we're going to test your palate today.
Okay.
And I only brought 4 because I didn't think you could handle 5 or 6.
Yes,
probably a smart move. Yeah. And so the first one we're going to try here, it's called Beet Heat. And just like the name implies, it has beets in it. It's made with red Fresno peppers. Red Fresnos are red peppers that are they're hotter than a jalapeno and a little bit less than a serrano. So not super hot here, just a lot of really good flavor. So we're going to start with this one, and then we're going to move up the chain.
Okay. I've had the Beet Heat, but okay.
Yeah, we're going to try it though.
It goes well with a cab. All right, Jeff's savoring Beet
I'll
Heat.
even do it with you, so that should be all right. Now remember, it is hot sauce.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's hot sauce. Trust me, man.
Wait,
It's hot sauce.
is that one hot to you?
No, a little.
Yeah. The great thing with the fermentation process is you get a bunch of the flavor right up front.
Yeah.
And then the heat comes, but then it dissipates pretty quickly, especially with the red Fresnos. You know, this is not a very spicy one, but it is a very tasty one. Goes on great on sandwiches.
Beet Heat.
Beet Heat. B-E-E-T. Heat.
All right. Go to atxhotsauce.com.
That's right.
Okay. The statement. Let me tell you something, just so you know that this is not all that new. Of course, he made it such a circus act that it's turned into a joke. So he made the comment somewhere in his memo. This was on him that, well, it's one-sided and it should be viewed as an illegal campaign contribution. Just to show you how pathetic people in politics are. A few years ago, it became the play of the day in AM talk radio. And somebody in the Democratic Party suggested it. Somebody had made the suggestion, exact same suggestion as fascists like Trump and fascists like anybody else in politics. They wanted to fix media. They felt that if media was one-sided, it should be regulated in some capacity. Now, I would say the old days of the FCC As John McCain told me one time when I interviewed him about...
Hey, Jeff Ford here, and shirts that fit well.
When I interviewed John McCain about, not shirts, about regulating, I don't know, it was something about media. This was old. This was post Janet Jackson nipple, right? And I'm sitting in the middle of this firestorm of what politicians wanting to regulate media more. And then people like me sitting there saying, get out of my face. And I asked John McCain, I said, why would you go here? He said, because we can. And the reality is, sort of, they can. So it started this whole thing. Talk radio hosts. Now, understand media today, and as somebody listening right now or somebody who's, wants to hate on media, which is cool, will say, well, yeah, Jeff, he's right. It is one-sided. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Fox News does one thing, MSNBC does the same thing. They're the same types of echo chambers. They're created for the same thing. They're one audience member only. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that it's one-sided. So talk radio had this freak out period. And I remember almost every day for 6 months or so, Democrats want to, because they want to regulate talk radio. They want to make it, the fairness doctrine is coming. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? I don't feel anything. Screw off. I'm going to do what I do. They're not going to touch this, but there was a total freak out. The Democrats are coming because we're so one-sided. The Democrats are coming to make us follow the fairness doctrine. I said, no, that's BS, BS. So this is not new territory. What he's suggesting is not new at all. And yes, there were Democrats suggesting that. If here's the easy comeback. This is like anybody in office that wants to regulate media. And a lot of you are fans of that. But he doesn't like SNL because he thinks it's one-sided. He doesn't like late night comedy because it's one-sided. If you're going to regulate late night comedy and SNL, do you apply the same regulations to talk radio? There is no greater ass-kissing medium. There is no medium that breathes out exhaust fumes more than that one. If you want to say MSNBC, MSNBC is the same thing as talk radio, which is the same thing as Fox News. It is completely one-sided. So, if you're going to regulate and you really do, you're not, and you can't, and that's a terrible suggestion, and it just should terrify anybody. But if you're a fan of that stuff and you don't like that some stuff is one-sided, just be aware that your one-sided stuff deserves it too. If you think it's the devil that Kimmel is one-sided or Ward is one-sided or fill in the blank, old man talk show hosts wherever in whatever town you can think of. If you think it's all too one-sided, just understand that your own media also needs to be regulated.